Hello, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I want to wish everyone a happy Saturday. Today, as I mentioned in my announcement, that I have a special guest with me today in my weekly updates. So I am calling our weekly updates now Joyful Notes because we are here sharing some nuggets about joy as we celebrate our anniversary. And for those of you that have been following us, we had a fundraiser for our anniversary called 10 for 10. So we have transitioned from that and starting to share and speak more about our upcoming event called Miles for Joy, which is a fun run and a fun walk event that I would encourage everyone that is watching or who will be watching to participate in. It's a great family friendly event that I want everyone that can to participate. And there's just a whole host of different ways to participate. And we'll talk about that, in midsection of this Joyful Notes discussion. But today with me, I have Bamba Sohna, the president of the Gambian Texas Association here in the Dallas Metroplex area. Bamba is a great friend of mine, a longtime friend, someone whom I call a brother, someone whom I call a mentor as well, someone whom I bounce off ideas on a lot of different things that are happening in our community, just to make sure that they are fully served and they're well sustained. I'm going to bring Bamba to the screen, and Bamba himself will tell you more about who Bamba is, and then we will get into the discussion. Some parts of this discussion will get a little bit personal, and some parts of it will be talking about the community that Bamba served here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. And then we'll talk a little bit about our Miles for Joy. And Bamba, a well-known leader, not only in the community, but in his place of work, may have some few advice that he will want to share with our viewers and our supporters. So watch, stay tuned, don't tune out. You don't want to miss out on what Bamba will have to say. So with that said, without no further ado, I will bring Bamba to the screen. Hello, Bamba, how are you?
What's
We
up,
can't hear
Alfie?
you. Hey, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes. What's going on? What's up, Alfie? What's up, Dallas? What's up, Texas? What's up, the world? I am joyful today.
Me too. I'm joyful. Hey, I kind of told our viewers that, you have some great information sharing that you'll be doing today here, and that they should not leave this show and they should not tune out because you got some great information to share here, but also they'll get to know who Bamba really is. So with that said, can you tell us and tell our viewers who is Bamba Sahni, the president himself of the Gambian Texas Association here in the DFW area?
Yeah, I'm a simple, easygoing guy. But before I speak though, I'd like to have some of your lighting, man. You look so much better than I do. It's not even funny. But yeah. So hey, kid that had the fortune of being granted the opportunity to come to the U.S. to study and have an opportunity that some of my fellow countrymen back home, have not been fortunate to have as of yet. So born and raised in the Gambia, smallest country in Africa. Been here a very long time, actually longer here than I have been in the Gambia. Lived in New York for a long time, but started out here going to college in Texas. Actually, we were classmates and sometimes roommates, Alfie and I. So there's some cool stories that we might be able to share, appropriate ones, of course. So started out here, did some college, went back to New York, lived there forever, and then moved back here and became actual neighbors with Alfie again. So that is simply who I am. And a few years ago, I was fortunate enough to be nominated to run for president for the Gambian Texas Association. And I've been leading that group for about 4 years now, when actually my tenure is right down, about to wrap up. We're about to have elections and someone else is about to step into my shoes. So that's a little bit about me. Alfie, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, and a great neighbor indeed, a great friend, a great roommate. And I don't want you to take this as your as your ending term of presidency discussion. So I know that everybody in Dallas still wants you to be the president, and I will not be surprised that you will still be nominated for the presidency. But but let's talk a little bit about, let's get a little bit personal here, right? So you mentioned that we were roommates, and I don't know a lot of people understand what does that really mean, that we were roommates. And I think that there was a lot of humble beginning stories that I think that folks that are watching, I'm sure, this is the first time that I have at least 10 people watching at the same time, by the way. I'm sure they want to hear about those humble beginnings. And for those that know me, but don't really know me very well, I'm sure they probably want to know, hey, tell us a little bit about who Alfie is and what he's about. But before we get to that, um, tell us a little bit about that humble beginning at Navarro College. I think that has a lot of role, and a lot of impact in what we have become. And especially for you as you lead in this community today. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would just say, you know what our people say, Alhamdulillah now. But if we want to talk about those beginnings back when we were here going to college, it was no joke. Things were tough for us, man. We came out here with nothing, like zero. Some of us had no money in our pockets, right? And we still found a way to make it and make it work. So when we got to Corsicana, obviously we all went and got our jobs while we were enrolled in college at Navarro. Getting paid $4.75, $5 an hour, and then some of the ones that were lucky, $5.25. Today you think, how's that even possible? Well, like I said in the beginning, we made it work because we'd rent out an apartment and it'd be like 7 or 8 of us living in there. And we'd have like a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, and each bedroom would have 2 or 3 people in it, some sleeping in the living room, and then we'd just pay a small portion of rent, and we just worked together. So that's how we made it work. We worked together. We shared all of the bills, electric, cable, you name it. We did things together. So it goes back to the synergy that I've always talked about, right? Making $4.25 an hour and still driving a decent car, paying your college tuitions, in most cases by ourselves, right? Because we were able to work together. We had nothing. We were like dirt poor. There were times where it was really tough to even go grocery shopping. But because we put our hands together, we were able to make it all happen. Groceries, tuitions, car, gas, all of that good stuff. So it was tough times, but we made it through.
It was tough times indeed, Bamba, because, sometimes people don't really understand those humble beginnings. So for me, my recollection about those humble beginnings and how does that shape who I am today, it's that I remembered when I first come to this country and to Navarro College, and everybody that you know today will ask you, why Navarro College? From Africa to Navarro College. Why Navarro College? Why not Dallas, any other metroplex, in the US? What I remembered was just the care and the brotherhood, the experience that you guys accorded us, the newcomers. When we come to this country, we don't even have a place to stay. And you guys help give us that helping hand, lift us up, show us the way. and tell us how things are done. How is it that the environment here is different from where we come from? And besides, we are coming from where we've never worked, we've never done anything. We just finished high school, and now we have to work. You guys help us find a job. You guys give us accommodation at least until we can get on our feet to be able to find our own place. So I think those humble beginnings, watching you guys do things, emulate from that, help us to make us better and to be in a better position than where you guys were. And with not being selfish. I think when I think about those things today, help shape who I am. Because I think that everybody or most people gathered their motivations from their dark moments. That moment that you were alone, your family were not around you, you have to rely on brotherly, the brothers and sisters that were around you to help you. So it makes you, when you get to a certain position, want to do more. So for me, it's just natural for me to want to help other people that's coming into this country or even back home to be better because of some of these experiences that I've had coming to this country with no family support. But you guys were there to show me the way and to help. And I am so grateful for that. And you guys had 2 bedrooms, no, 3 bedrooms, and there were like 6 of you guys there. And you guys host an extra 4 more people for like 2 months.
Yeah. Oh
People
yeah.
sleeping on the
Yeah.
couch. I thought that those humble beginnings, and when you start sharing that with other people, especially people that are coming now, they're coming in immediately within a year or so, they have cars, they're living in nice apartments that
Yep. Yep.
so I think that helped also pave the way for them and make things a whole lot easier today than our experience. So I think that
Yep.
kind of helped shape us who we are today.
I agree. I agree. So here's my story when it comes to that. So you touched on something really important, the staggering of help, right? Coming from those who were there before. So for me, when I first landed at the airport, at DFW airport from New York, after being in the country for maybe about 11 months, about a year or so, and we all have these stories that are just stuck in our heads. They're engraved in there that we never forget because somebody's done something for you that is so meaningful. For me, my story was when we landed at JFK airport, me and a few other friends, we were picked up by a total stranger, and his name is Esa Guy. He's not a stranger anymore. He's a really good friend now. But back then, Esa pulled up at the airport, picked us up, didn't know any of us because somebody just asked him to do us a favor. He picked us up, took us to his apartment, and hosted us for a good enough time until we were able to get our own apartment back in Corsicana. So to your point, that meant a lot to us, to where the next group of people or the next batch of students that came in, you would felt obligated to return that favor. So great point, Alfie. That is exactly how we lived back in those days.
Yeah, and it was great times. We were making like 4.25 an hour. It was not all sweet the whole time. There were hard times, when you don't have a job and then you have to rely, and there were only 2 people with cars, if I could remember. It was you and Touch. That's it.
That
There
with
were only
what? Oh, with cars.
Yeah, and then I
Yeah.
think later Bass had one. So there were only a few people with cars. So everywhere we go, we were either walking or hitching a hike or calling somebody to come pick you up and things like that. So I think it was, and there was no cell phone back then either. So
Right.
so
Right.
I don't want to share how old we are on this conversation, but it was way back then. So,
Hey, do you
but
remember the car? Do you remember the car that I owned? Let's jog your memory here.
and it was an Acura, and it
Yeah,
was
I
kind of
started
like
up.
a gold kind of looking car.
Yeah, yeah. You got it.
So so with those humble beginnings, right? I'm sure that with all these discussions that we are having now, and there's a lot of lessons learned in the process. And I just want you to tell me, how do you think that the work that you're doing today as a GTA president interrelate with the work that Joy is doing?
Yeah, well, that's an easy one. We kind of do the
Good.
same thing, if you will. Um, I'm just a servant of the community. So, and Joy is under our umbrella, right? So,
I beg you,
our
please.
roles are really
Okay,
simple.
come to my
We
show.
create excitement,
Please.
excitement.
Come here, please.
We find a way to give people hope, and obviously we know that when people have hope, when there's hope, action then happens, right? So all of what we do is just to get out there and create a scenario to where people have a hope and look forward to something, to get the body to get up and go towards that something, right? That's the opportunity that is missing back home. We have kids that are just sitting around and there's no hope, so they just sit. When the body and the mind believes that there's nothing down there, I'm not going to move towards anything because there's nothing for me to move to. So what we do here as the Gambian Texas Association, along with Joy, and especially Joy, raising funds to create that environment where there's hope for the kids back home to get up and go, right, is what we have in common. Joy gives people hope, obviously piggybacking off of what we do. And the other thing is, even though Joy is a nonprofit organization that is supporting these poor kids back home and all around the world, and even here in Texas, Joy is probably one of the first to donate to the GTA whenever we ask for a donation to assist someone in the community. Always, never fails. Always one of the first person to call me is Alfie and says, "Here, Joy is going to donate X amount to help bail that person out or to help you accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish." So I applaud you for that, Alfie, and I'll send it right back to you.
I see that you're using that right back to you comment.
I learned that from your guy the last time.
Thank you.
Uh,
And I like the working relationships that we have as it relates to helping serve our community locally here and in the Gambia. And I know that there's a lot of initiatives that we worked on together to try to help. And I think that, as a community, we become stronger and better because of the fact that we look out for each other. And that is definitely what Joy does for these needy children that we are supporting. And GTA as well do the same thing for the community here in the Dallas Metroplex area. I remember, during when the COVID just hit last year, we started working with our students back in the Gambia with helping them with some care packages. And then also we work with some of the kids here locally to help them with some care packages since, you know, now they're staying home and they need other items, provisions so that they can continue for their own sustenance. I remember you set up a process here in the DFW area to help the people in the community that may be losing their jobs or they cannot afford to do certain things that because of COVID, so that we can make sure that they get the help that they need. So, and I thought that that was a very another caring and a very passionate leadership that you've shown, to this community, which is basically what we do also to the kids that are in our program. So growing up in the Gambia, and I know that a lot of people have similar types of experience, but I'm sure our viewers would like to know from your experience and your upbringing, what type of experience do you have with kids that are similar to what to whom Joy are supporting today?
yeah. So growing up, it was tough. So because there are times where you would go to class, um, and then you sit in the classroom and you see probably a third or maybe half of the class is absent, is missing, and you'd find out when you find out the reasons why, just the simple reasons why some of these people could not come to class. it broke your heart a little bit. And for example, there are times where you'd go to school and majority of the missing people would be females. And those females could not come to class because it was that time of the month. And because they couldn't purchase, their parents didn't have enough money to buy them the supplies that they needed to maintain the level of cleanliness to be able to then attend classes, right? Because when it's that time of the month, there are certain things that you need to protect you from bleeding all over the place, and they couldn't afford those things, so they were forced to stay home. Imagine that. Let that sink in for a second. Like if you're living in the U.S., if you're an American, and you're thinking a pack of pads or tampons kept someone from going to school, well, we lived it. We saw it. These girls would not come to class because they didn't have a pad or a tampon. And there are many stories to tell, but that's just one example. But these are the things that we saw growing up, right? And then some of us, someone like you, during those times, dealing with those things, would sit there and say, when I grow up, I want to be able to do something to stop that from happening. And you're doing that. Like, it's unbelievable the level at which that you're doing it. And I applaud you for like hugely for that. But that's just my example of some of the things. There's many, but there's just my example of some of the things that we experienced, with people going through hardships, right? Some of us attending school that required tuitions. And very often you'd see people just not come to school because they didn't have the money to pay those tuitions. And if we convert the dollar amount, the money that they would pay for tuitions to dollars, you'd be surprised. It's like singles as it relates to dollars, right? So very small dollar amounts kept people out of classrooms. Again, as I stated, there are many, many examples to share, but these are just a few, some real simple stuff that kept people out of the classroom. So Alfie, again, I'm gonna send it back to you, but I really applaud you for everything that you're doing to give these people a chance to not have to leave those moments.
I think, like you mentioned, there's just a whole host of issues out there and a whole host of reasons as to why a child may not be able to go to school. Some of them, maybe their parents, they have not believed in education, or maybe educating a girl, or could be they just cannot afford it because they come from a large family. And for their own sustainability, they need to put those kids to work in the farm so that they can grow what they eat, right? So there's a whole host of issues. But I just want to say that thank God that because of support of people like you, one of our biggest supporter in the community and at large, that would do anything. I can't think of a day or a time or a moment when I called you and say, hey, Mr. President, I need you to help with this and this and this. I'm all yours. Just let me know what you need me to do. So it is because of people like you and others that give passionately and caringly to this organization is what makes this work so much easier for us and so much, doable in a way. So as you know, we have a big event coming up, which is our Miles for Joy, because it takes funding for us to be able to do our work. And you've been there every year. And if you want to just share with our viewers a little bit about what this Miles for Joy is about, and then from there, I will play a short video about our Miles for Joy from 2 years ago. I'm sure they probably maybe want to know from somebody who's experienced it. What should they do? Should they really sign up? Should they show up? What do they need to do? You tell me. Is it worth their time?
So, but before I answer that question, I'm gonna say, you mentioned all these great things about me. I have to say that's a relationship we have. I get motivated by you most of the time because when I call on the community for something, you don't even wait for a phone call. You're talking about calling me. You don't wait for a phone call. You call me and say, what do you need me to do? And you do just that. So I applaud you for that. But as it relates to your question, is it worth their time and the money? No, it's in the money that they pay is not even enough for the amount of fun that people are going to have at this event. It's a huge day. It's just like, picture this, like a huge family reunion, right? You go out to this big park, DJs blasting the music. There's all sorts of fun activity, soccer games. You get to exercise for a small fee. You get to eat all sorts of food, and you just get to have a blast by the end of the night. And then most importantly, you get to walk away knowing that you have made a difference with that money that you donated to the lives of many people who really need it. To me, that's the biggest takeaway. Forget all the fun that we have at the park. The price is not even enough for the amount of fun that we have at the park. But the bigger thing for me is knowing, walking away with the satisfaction and the reward that I've taken, changed the lives of at minimum one person, but in most cases many, because all of this it's what it's all about, right? Changing the lives of someone. So giving feels good. I don't know about you guys, but when I do a good deed, or when I help someone out with something, a lot of times I feel better than that person, because I walk away feeling so good. It gets me hyped up, it gets me motivated, it gets me excited to go on to the next task, right? And that motivation and that excitement, that energy, knowing that I made a difference in the life of someone, that energy can be viewed a miles away by somebody. And that serves you really well, personally and professionally, because people just see you excited all the time. Excitement is awesome. People love that, whether it's personal or professional. So when you do join this event, you're going to walk away feeling what I just described. So give it a shot if you don't believe me, and we'll come back and talk about it after the fact.
And let me show them some of the view from our 2 years ago event on Miles for Joy, how fun it is.
It's awesome.
All right, we are back. Yeah, so that was 2 years ago, Miles for Joy. And if you don't know how to register and you're watching, look at that link at the bottom of the screen there. It says register for Miles for Joy, and it gives you giftofjoy.org/Miles for Joy. If you go to our website, look for our event page, you'll find all the details that you need to know about our Miles for Joy. So Bamba, what are you going to tell the Gambian community about the Miles for Joy? Normally we have a huge support from them. They come out in numbers and they show out, and you know, they participate in the soccer, they participate in the ladies games. I mean, we have great food, great time. So I want you to speak directly to your community.
So it's real simple. My term has ended, and I'm about to depart. You guys are you're about to have a new president. You have my full commitment to support that president. But I ask you to do one thing for me. Join me at this event. It could quite possibly be the last time you see me in this role, right, in a public setting. So come out there so we can connect, right? I can thank you for all of what you've done for the community. But at this time around, I just want to see everybody from the community come to the event. But let's not wait until the event to just show up. Let's go out right now and click on that link that he just talked about and register, because when you do that, it helps him from a planning standpoint, right? To be able to plan out all of the logistics to make this a successful day. So I'm asking all of y'all, if there's one thing that you can do for me, one thing that you can do for me for being your president for the last 4 years, join us on this day. Log on, register now, and just be there. Come out, let's have fun together. It's been a long time since COVID started that we haven't gotten together. So come out and join us.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time indeed, right? And, you've been a great supporter of everybody in this community, in anything that they do. And we have a great, young, talented guy in our community in the name of Peter, who has been a great Joy supporter. Every time we have events, he's there giving his time, but also supporting and sponsoring the event. So he's been a great sponsor of Joy over the years. And Peter, I know Peter. And for those also that are watching or who will be watching, there's a lot of ways that you can participate in this Miles for Joy. One, you can register to either run or do a fun walk, and you can do it locally in person here in the Fairview, McKinney area, or you can do it anywhere you are in the world. I'm not even going to say in the country. Anywhere you are in the world, you can do it. All you got to do is from June 26th to July 3rd, run, walk, and share a picture with us to say that you did it virtually. Or you can come to the park on July 4th, where we will have our soccer and our ladies' games and food sales. And you can enjoy great African and American type cuisine, but also participate in either the ladies or the men's soccer game. So there's just a whole host of ways. And the other one is, let's say you cannot, because of whatever reason, you can also donate. So if you go to this link, that giftofjoy.org, Miles for Joy, you would see three options. Either you register, whether you participate in the games, or you participate in the fundraiser. So there's three ways. But I have a short video here from Peter that I want to share with the community and the viewers just to know the type of work that he does. And when you support his cause, then you are actually supporting Joy, because all proceeds that he makes from his t-shirt business, he's also contributing some of that to Joy. So with that, I'm going to play this video here to share about Peter's work. All right. So, what do you have to say about Peter's t-shirts?
Notice anything different about me?
Wow.
So I went and put on my Peter made t-shirt. So this is the kind of stuff that he does. So he made this t-shirt for me, right? Let me do this. So you guys can see. Yep, I can't breathe. Doing the George Floyd situation. Peter made me this t-shirt, right? This was all done by Peter. This is handiwork. So this is the kind of stuff he does. It's really cool. It's creative, really good quality, good stuff. Support him. He's a local business person in our community. Everybody buy a t-shirt from him. Like I always say, guys, if we build up our small businesses in our community, it can help carry us down the road. So let's support the guy.
And this is how you contact Peter, urbanafroclothing.com. urbanafroclothing.com. It's Peter's business. And when you support Peter, you're supporting Joy, because part of what you are paying to buy those t-shirts, reasonable and good quality, he donates proceeds from that, percentage of proceeds from that to Joy. So I would encourage you to support Peter. But Mr. President,
yes, sir.
You are known in the community as someone that is full of wisdom. someone who's a good mentor to many. Do you have any parting words to our viewers and people that are, our supporters? You know, just anything that you want to share with them before we close this discussion.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with a statement that I stole from one of my one of the people that I follow. He's a motivational speaker. He's an author, Simon T. Bailey. He said, "When you find your spark, you find joy. When you find joy, you find freedom." Um, Alfie, we all have jobs that we get paid to do, right? And a job is just that. It's just what you get paid to do. But being a spark is what we're created to do. Alfie, you and what you're doing with joy, you are a spark. You're created to help people. That's just in your nature. I remember way back when we were in Corsicana, when we first got here as young adults, it's always been in your DNA just to help someone. And I got to tell you a story about how I found out about joy. And the story is when we first moved to Texas about 8 years ago, my family and I, we hosted a family friend of ours, and that was here going to college as well. She came home one day and said, "I met this guy. He says he's from Gambia. He owns a nonprofit organization and he helps kids back home." I'm like, "Oh, really? That's nice." And I asked, "What did y'all talk about?" She said, "Well, he was trying to recruit me to be a volunteer to help him with the organization." And then, a short while later, I met you at one of our Gambian Texas Association's events at a park somewhere. That was the first time we met since I moved back to Texas. I wasn't part of the GTA yet. And then after we, hey, long time no see, that kind of thing, I found out that that guy that she described at the supermarket that she met was actually you. I was not surprised at all. But before I close things out, I just want to tell you guys a short story. Back in September when I was in the Gambia, there's this young kid. They call him ML. I don't even know his real name, but they call him ML. He's probably about 6 or 7 years old. The kid is hyperactive, very energetic. You can quite easily see that if helped and supported, this kid is going to make it in life because he had a great attitude at a very, very young age, right? I admired the kid. Just looking at him, I liked him. So one day, while I was still there, he's walking around limping. His right foot was swollen. There's an injury on there. And I asked, I called him up, ML, come here. He came up, like, what's going on? And they said, well, he got hurt somehow. Okay, so why is he not being treated at the hospital? Well, the parents didn't have the money to take him to the hospital. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I said, let's go, take a walk with me. We walked over. They live next door. We went to the family. I said, what do we need to do? They told me about the pharmacy bill, all that business. I said, I'll pay for it. Let's take care of the kid. So I did that for that one kid. Alfie and Joy are doing it at a much larger scale for the entire country of the Gambia and some other nations, in Kenya and even here in the US. So let's give him all the support that he needs to continue to be the spark that he is for what he was created to do on this planet. Alfie, keep up the good work. Send it right back to you. That is my final words of wisdom for everybody that is listening. We can't hear you. I believe you might be muted.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the kind words. And I would just say that we are all sparks in our own different ways. And if I have one thing to tell our viewers, and that one thing would be that in life, we don't have to wait until perfection to go after our dreams. Nothing that is created successful did not start with perfection. It was perfected. So whatever dreams and whatever you may have in your mind that you want to execute on, start it today. Do not wait until tomorrow because that tomorrow may never be. And all successful people And all successful organizations that I have read or learned about started with some small, humble beginnings. Some of them were hard, humble beginnings. Some people sacrifice a lot just to get to where they are. They did not wait for everything to be perfect. If you look at Amazon, today everybody is talking about them, but we all know where Jeff Bezos started. So I'm going to leave you with that. Whatever you want to do, start it today. Do not procrastinate on it. Do not wait until tomorrow. Start today. Even if it is not perfect, start it today. One day it will be perfect. So with that, I would say, if you want to support JOYE, if you want to make a difference in the life of a child, if you want to uplift a community, if you want to uplift a child, if you want to create a better future for tomorrow, do not wait until tomorrow. Click on that link, donate, register, participate, recruit people to help so that we can do the work. Because tomorrow is never promised. And everybody that benefits from JOYE are our future leaders. So I would just say that do not procrastinate on it. Don't wait until tomorrow. Go in there right now and do what you got to do. Thank you.
Great job. Well said. Thank you, Alfred.
And I'll finish this with a quick video just to recognize our people that are behind the scenes doing all the work, but also to tell a little bit of story about what JOYE is. And we'll wrap this conversation.
JOYE. JOYE means just that, joyfulness and gratitude. JOYE represents the gratitude and the paying forward, the forward investment into our community.
JOYE as a platform provides opportunity to link my children to my homeland, which is the Gambia. They get to learn about the needs of other children just like them, and hopefully see how fortunate they are growing up here in the US, and also be able to relate to my upbringing and the challenges I faced growing up in the Gambia.
These stories of the children who were craving to attend school and grateful for the opportunity to attend school and grateful for the opportunity to be of service to their community, that tugged at my heartstrings. So that's what inspired me to be a part of JOYE.
Providing a more holistic approach to child development, a more holistic approach to community development as well.
JOYE is a symbol of hope, and we're working together to bring a better and brighter future to students and their families and their communities.
JOYE is the smile on a child's face, knowing that they have the opportunity to advance their community.
We also provide items locally for students that are struggling in the Allen area. We do coat drives, school supply drives. We even do an Adopt a Highway cleanup where we're helping keep the community of Allen clean and looking nice.
JOYE is the glimmer of hope that each one of us places in a child's life when we invest in them. The glimmer of hope that they so desperately need. Just that little ounce of motivation and push that they need to know that they are our next leaders.
All right, Bamba, I think this is a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really appreciate it. And let's call it a day. And I'm sure I will give you an update on how many contributions I get from your community.
Let's do that. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
All right.